Hello, my friends. Good evening. This is Tosif starting a live stream. The time right now is 11:46 p.m. This is January the 4th. And it's a pleasure to be back. I'm glad that I'm able to do live streams every day for the past few days. And it's also wonderful to see greater engagement and participation and engagement from you all, because that's very important for any discussion. I don't want to be the only one talking in front of the camera. I want you all to ask me questions, share your thoughts, and just have a conversation, learn from each other. So my friends, thank you all for being here. I appreciate that. I see Kay Cooper is here, Frank is here, Richard Miller just joined, and I'm hoping that more will be joining very soon. So Maduro is in custody, and we have been talking about that, right? Terry, good to see you. Terry is here. Thank you so much, always for the compliment, Terry. Maduro is in custody. And now the question is, what will be the Trump administration's next steps in Venezuela? And it's normal to think about what's coming next. What's going to be the next move? What are we going to see tomorrow? What's going to happen the next day? Okay. Curiosity is normal. And given a situation like this, an event that has generated curiosity worldwide, okay? Those who support the Trump administration's decision to launch military action to capture Maduro, those who support the Trump administration's decision, they're also curious. They're curious to learn what's going to happen next. And those who oppose the Trump administration's decision, they're also curious to find out what's going to be President Trump's next move. So supporters, opponents, they're all very curious to learn what we are going to witness in the days and weeks ahead. Lots of questions. But before we get to that, I think what needs to be mentioned is that Nicolas Maduro, the brutal dictator, not a dictator anymore. I mean, he can't be a dictator because he's behind bars in federal custody. All right, so yeah, I know I've used the term brutal dictator, but now he's former brutal dictator, because he's in New York City, Nicolas Maduro. No longer in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, but in federal custody. So one thing that needs to be mentioned is that Maduro is expected to face arraignment in New York City, and that's going to be on Monday. All right, so here we are, Sunday night, waiting for Monday. It's going to be Monday in a few minutes, unless you live in the Pacific time zone. Then you're going to have to wait a little longer to get to Monday. All right? And I know that people have lots of questions about how Nicolas Maduro was captured in Venezuela. How was he captured? How did the U.S. military, how did, the U.S. forces, how did they make it happen? How did they get to Venezuela? How did they get down on the ground? And how did they get to where Maduro is and capture him and extract him and fly him to the U.S.? How did it all happen? I mean, of course, I don't know if we will ever get all the answers, because there are so many operational details pertaining to an operation of this nature that I don't think will be revealed. I mean, these are highly confidential, but you know, you're gonna have to rely on your imagination. Try to imagine what might have happened on the ground. But you're gonna know this, that the U.S. forces, the U.S. the U.S. military, the best and the brightest, the United States military. I think the world has known that, and now more than ever, the world knows, and the world has to agree that the U.S. military is the best. So, lots of questions about how Maduro was captured. I've listened to a few news clips on that. Here's something that's going on. The political left is having a meltdown. The political left is having a meltdown. The left is opposing Maduro's capture. I mean, did we ever imagine that we're going to be arriving at such a point that the left, the political left, will oppose the arrest of a brutal dictator who has tried to hurt our country, operating from Venezuela? He tried to hurt our country, our people. A brutal dictator who committed crimes against his own people in Venezuela, a brutal dictator who has committed crimes against humanity, and the left is opposing the arrest of that brutal dictator. I mean, how did we get to this point? I mean, is the political left completely blind? Are they not seeing things properly? Are they not processing information in the brain? The political left having a meltdown, screaming and shouting, and waging a war on social media, giving statements after statements, criticizing the Trump administration. I mean, it's just beyond belief. The left is opposing the Democrats. They're opposing, with some exceptions. Like John Fetterman is an exception. I talked about him. I'm not a fan of John Fetterman, okay? I have criticized him in the past. I will probably do so in the future if there are reasons to criticize him. But in this case, John Fetterman seems to be the reasonable one among the Democrats, because he has applauded. I forget what his exact quote was. There was a post on social media, but he basically expressed his support for this operation. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I talked about her yesterday, I think Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz also said it's a welcome news that Maduro was captured, but then she went on to say, oh, the Congress was not notified, so on and so forth. So it was not like 100%, yeah, great job. She added a little bit of criticism in her comments, but I get it. I mean, she kind of has to balance both sides. There's no way that you cannot applaud this decision. You got to applaud, because this was a great operation. So she called it a welcome news that Maduro has been captured, but then she added a little bit of her left-wing, talking point. Oh, Congress was not notified. All right, anyway, I'm not going to go into details on that. But overwhelmingly, on the political left, overwhelmingly, the Democrats are criticizing this. And it is just unbelievable. I mean, have the Democrats separated themselves from common sense and logic and reason So much. They are so far away. They have drifted so far away from logic and reason and common sense that even such a highly successful operation as this, where no US personnel were killed. I mean, there was a lot of, it was an intense operation. There was a lot of action on the ground, okay? And even in the air. But we did not lose any US personnel. No US military service member died in this. Everyone came back safe. Reportedly, there were some injuries, but everything's okay. Everyone came back alive from the American side. So this is, you got to applaud this. And the way it happened, it was a very short time frame. I mean, yes, reportedly, American military had to prepare for this, but then when the operation started, it was very quick. Okay, I don't know the exact time frame, but I think it was within like a couple hours, the whole thing. So, I don't see how the political left can justify criticizing this move, criticizing this operation. I don't know what they're thinking. At this point, it seems like the Democrats, they're just completely lost. They don't know what's going on. All they know is they have to criticize whatever Trump does. And that's what the Democrats are doing. Criticize everything, anything and everything that Trump does. So it's just mind-boggling. Anyway, my friends, it's called Trump derangement syndrome. You know it, right? Trump derangement syndrome. That is what is going on. They just think, oh, President Trump took this action, then that must be the wrong action. I mean, it's linear thinking. Okay? Trump did something, oh, it's got to be a bad thing to do. Anyway, that's how they think. Secretary Marco Rubio, a very, very capable and highly intelligent, very knowledgeable, just a great cabinet member. I mean, a true asset. When you look at all the cabinet members, there are some great people in President Trump's cabinet. I mean, everyone's brilliant, but certain people really stand out. Certain people stand out. Secretary Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. We're so fortunate to have him in that position. I'm so glad President Trump chose Marco Rubio for that role. So Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, he made it very clear that this was a law enforcement operation. This was an arrest. Maduro was arrested, Nicolas Maduro. There were FBI agents, and yes, there was US military because it was such a complex operation. But this was not an invasion. Okay? If you hear any Democrats say, "Oh, it's an invasion," it's not an invasion. It's a law enforcement operation. The left can scream and shout and say, "Invasion, invasion." It was not an invasion. Marco Rubio made it clear that a lot of things had to line up perfectly for this operation to move forward. I mean, the timing and everything, all the conditions had to be perfect. I mean, all the variables had to line up perfectly, including the weather. Including the weather. That's right. It's not just about preparing, having the right intel, having the right team, having the right equipment, having the right, time of the day, whatever. But even the weather plays a big role when you're looking at an operation like this. And so Secretary Rubio made it very clear that everything had to line up perfectly for this operation to move forward. And, you know, I mean, think about it. They had to track Nicolas Maduro, right? The U.S. forces, the American side, those who were involved in this, they had to know where Maduro would be found. They had to pinpoint his exact location. Just think about what kind of intelligence United States had to gather for to make that possible. Like, where would Maduro be at that given point in time, during that time of the day or night? So, as I said, the weather had to be perfect, the forces had to be ready. It's more complex than we can imagine, okay? And as I said before, this operation would be written in the history books, and people would read about this for generations to come. Exactly. Exactly. You know, this would, years and years down the road, decades down the road, people will be reading about this operation. They will be watching, you know, all the news updates that we're watching now. These will be in the archive. People will dig through the archive and learn about what happened. I'm sure there will be books written about it, perhaps, I'm guessing, or essays or articles, whatever. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And it was perfect. It was flawless. It was successful. It was a success. And you know what? For that, we should be proud. We should be thanking everyone involved. President Trump, the commander-in-chief, the cabinet members involved, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and the FBI and the intelligence community, and everyone involved. We're going to have to be grateful that this worked out so perfectly. And now the end result, you see, Nicolas Maduro in New York in federal custody. Who could have imagined? Who could have imagined? What's the name of the operation? We talked about it yesterday. Does anyone want to write that? Would anyone like to write the name of the operation? Let's do it, because this is something that you cannot lose from your memory. Go ahead. Write the name of the operation. We talked about it. I hope you remember. Absolute Resolve. That's right. Operation Absolute Resolve. So, my friends, Marco Rubio said that in order to arrest Nicolas Maduro, the Department of War had to get involved in the operation. The Department of War had to make sure that they could hit anything that was a threat so that the agents could go in and arrest Maduro. And so it's done. It's done. And on Monday, which technically it's Monday already, here in the Central Time Zone, I'm looking at the time on my laptop screen. It says 12:05 a.m. What does that mean? What does it mean? It's past midnight, 5 minutes past midnight. So does that mean it's Monday? Yeah, it's Monday. Maduro will be arraigned. So there's going to be a lot of news on Monday. So in the morning, in the afternoon, you're going to have to pay attention. I'll be keeping track of the news updates. I will do that. I will do that, my friends. So what's next for Venezuela? Does anyone want to make a guess? You want to provide your expert analysis, or just just a guess, maybe you have a guess, you're guessing what might happen next for Venezuela. You want to share that? If you are an expert in geopolitics, you've studied the region, you know Latin America, you know the history of US-Venezuela relations, you're an expert, you want to share your expertise, please feel free to do that in the live chat. Okay, we want to hear from everyone. Or just make a wild guess. Hey, I think this is what's going to happen. Or if you have any advice, like what do you think President Trump should do going forward? What kind of an approach should the Trump administration adopt, like strategy? Anything, let me know. By the way, my friends, I see a lot of people here, hundreds of people watching at this very moment. So would you please make sure that you're subscribing? Subscribe to the channel. Because people ask me, Tosif, you know, we love your channel, how can we support you? And I tell them, hey, listen, it's not going to cost you a single penny. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video. 3 steps. You want to do 1 step, just subscribe. You want to do a 2nd step, hit the like button. You want to do all 3? Hey, share this video with your friends, family members, and your neighbors. So, question, what's next for Venezuela? First and foremost, the United States will make sure that Venezuela cannot be used as a campground for hostile countries to gather and to conspire against the US. No. The United States will not allow that to happen. The United States will not allow Venezuela to be a place where America's enemies will gather and they will formulate plans against the US. That's the most important thing, to make sure that take all the hostile forces, the hostile influence out of Venezuela. Do not allow Venezuela to be a place where, you know, adversaries gather and they form plans. Venezuela is not far from the US. You have to understand that. This is not like a land far, far away. Okay, this is real close. You got to look Venezuela up on a map. It's in a different continent. It's in South America. But it's so close to North America, right? It's so close to the US. It's in a different continent, but Venezuela is in the same hemisphere. The Western Hemisphere. Okay, anyone who wants to open up a map, you don't have to use the paper map anymore. I mean, it's all digital, right? You take out your phone, you look up the map on your phone, on your tablet, on your laptop. See where Venezuela is located. Look up the Caribbean region and see how far from the US Venezuela is. And so the United States has to make sure that no other foreign adversary or competitor can establish a station in Venezuela for the purposes of hurting US interests. All right? It's about America first. It's about America first. And this actually is America first, because we're trying to ensure America's national security, economic security, and that's why we have to make sure that Venezuela cannot be a campground for countries like Russia to spread their influence and to try to hurt US interests, okay? We have to closely monitor Venezuela. I think people agree with me when I say that. We the American, you know, our government, our military, they'll have to closely monitor Venezuela because it's in our national security interest. Does that make sense, my friends? I've been talking for a while, and in fact, I do have a lot more to say, But I just want to pause for a little bit and to find out what you think about my commentary, my analysis. What do you think? Listen, if you are here for the first time and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I've never watched his video before. Who is this guy? Well, my name is Tosif. And you look at my hat and you will know where I stand. I believe in making America great again. I believe in America first. And you are damn right. I voted for Donald J. Trump in 2016, in 2020, and in 2024. That's my candidate. That's my president. So, if you are on the same page as I am, if you agree with my viewpoints, you don't have to agree with each and everything I say, but if you also believe in America first, if you also believe in making America great again, then my friends, stay here with me. Stay here with me. Don't go anywhere. Subscribe, be a part of this community. I have been live streaming since January of 2024. And this is January of 2026. 2 years I've been live streaming. How many live streams I've done, I don't even know. Many, all right? So be a part of this community of freedom-loving people. Stay here with me. Be a friend. And let's engage in a dialogue. Let's talk about the issues that matter. Let's talk about domestic policy, international policy. Let's talk about social issues, political issues. My friends, talking about Venezuela, it's important for people to understand the facts. You're probably hearing a lot of noises. You turn on this channel, this network, you hear something. You change the channel, you got your TV remote, you change the channel, you're switching to a different network, you hear something else. This news anchor says something, that news anchor says something else, this political commentator says something, that political commentator says something else. You may be getting confused. You're gonna have to figure out what the facts are. I am trying to provide to you the facts. Yes, I'm a Republican. Yes, I'm a conservative. Yes, I support Trump. I voted for him. But you know what? The facts are the facts. I'm providing you with the facts. Yes, I am going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you my political analysis. But the simple facts of this operation, no one can dispute. Even if the Democrats try to do that, they won't. This was a highly successful operation. All the Americans who went in, they came out successfully. No one died. The mission is a success because Maduro and his wife were captured and extracted. And they are now in New York. So these are the facts. Whether you are a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a Trump voter, a Kamala Harris voter, you have to acknowledge the truth. This was a great success. So, my friends, the media, depending on what network you're watching, they may try to spin this and present this operation in a negative light. The liberal media does that. So I think it's important for people to do their own research and to try to understand what the truth is. Don't just believe whatever you listen to. If you want to fact check me, go right ahead. I've always encouraged that. I have said that probably, I don't know how many times. Since I started live streaming, I have said, hey, fact check me. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. If you want to verify everything that I'm saying, go do it. It is always my goal to share with you accurate information, and that's what I do. It's always my goal. If I don't know something, I'm going to say, hey, I don't know this. Sometimes people ask me questions, and I may say, hey, listen, I'm going to have to research that a little bit. I don't know the answer. There's no hesitation. You cannot possibly know everything, so it's okay to say, sorry, I don't know that answer, but I'm going to try to find out. So my friends, go ahead, do your own research. If you want to fact check whatever I'm saying, go right ahead. If you find that I've said something that's inaccurate, you can point that out, and I'm going to look at that. And if I find out that, oh, I made a mistake, I will acknowledge that. I'll say, oh, thanks for pointing it out. Upon further review, yeah, I think I made a mistake, but I appreciate you letting me know. Thanks so much. I mean, that's why it's important to have these conversations. So my friends, there are many questions about what is going to happen next in Venezuela. Is America going to run the country? What might that look like? And who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be in charge? Of course, Marco Rubio will have a very big role to play in this matter. I think people understand that. I don't have to say that to you. I think you know this. Some of you might be saying, Tassif, yeah, we understand Marco Rubio is going to have a big role to play because he is the Secretary of State, a key member of President Trump's cabinet. Secretary of State. He's in charge of foreign affairs. Okay? He is the one who's dealing with international relations. And that's why he's going to have a big role to play in this whole thing. And President Trump has said, he made it very clear that we are in charge, meaning the United States is in charge in Venezuela. President Trump said Delcy Rodriguez is cooperating, I think. Delcy Rodriguez is now the interim head since Maduro's capture, okay? So I think President Trump has made it very clear that Delcy Rodriguez has to cooperate, has to work smoothly. Delcy Rodriguez, the interim president, I guess that's the title. Interim president. I don't know if that's the exact title, but you know what I mean. Maduro extracted from Venezuela, Maduro captured, taken away. Somebody has to fill that position. Who's it going to be? Delcy Rodriguez. For now, of course, in the long run, and I don't know whether the long run means months or years, don't ask me that. I don't know how you would define it, but let me just say, at some point, there has to be an election, a free and fair election. I mean, it's too early to talk about that because Venezuela obviously is going through a very big transition right now. And so I don't even want to bring that up, but at some point, whenever that may be, there has to be, democracy, real democracy in Venezuela, so that people can elect their leaders. Now, that has not happened in Venezuela in a long time. Maduro claimed that he was reelected. Maduro claimed that he is, he's the president. He got the votes. We all know Those are sham elections, rigged elections. So Maduro is not the rightfully elected leader. He rigged the electoral process in his favor, and that's how he stayed in power. So Maduro gone, Delcy Rodriguez steps in, but she also obviously is not um, democratically elected. Real democracy has to be established in Venezuela at some point. It's going to require a lot of time and energy and investment and, you know, um, education too. That's a huge part of having a democratic society. You have to, people will have to know what their rights are. People will have to, empower themselves so that they can have strong institutions in the country. So hopefully that happens in the future. But right now, immediately, who's going to fill that void? Delcy Rodriguez. All right, Delcy Rodriguez. That's who the Trump administration will, um, you know, what's the right word? Communicate with. That's who is going to have to decide to cooperate with the United States to keep things smooth. So Delcy Rodriguez, let's see what she decides to do, what kind of actions she performs going forward. You're going to hear a lot of things in the media. Some will say, oh, Delcy is going to cooperate. Some will say, oh, Delcy Rodriguez will not cooperate, so on and so forth. Listen, all that noise, you're going to hear it, but don't believe everything you hear. What matters is what actions will Delcy Rodriguez perform. If she says, oh, I'm not going to cooperate with the US, but she ends up in her actions cooperating, that's what matters. That's what matters. And I was listening to Marco Rubio's interviews, more than one. I think I listened to two interviews earlier today, and I'm sure there's more that I didn't get to listen to because I was busy. But Marco Rubio has, he seems very confident. He seems very confident. He knows what he's doing. He knows that the United States is taking all the right actions. And I think at some point he also emphasized on the action part that, hey, action speaks louder than words, right? So whether or not Delcy Rodriguez is going to cooperate, we're going to know that from her actions. Not from what you read on social media, not from like a press release or a press statement or a speech. No. What matters is what she's actually going to do. Is she going to cooperate with the US? If she does, that's great. That's what we want to see. So, my friends, President Trump, he wants to help Venezuela. This is something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but this is a very simple fact that I think everyone must understand. It can get lost in all the noise, okay? But President Trump, in taking all the actions that he's taking, you got to understand that he cares about the people of Venezuela. He cares about the people of Venezuela. And President Trump cares about human beings in general. Yes, he's America first, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't care about other people. He does. And that's something that he has said regarding Ukraine, Russia. President Trump has said, I'm not repeating his exact words, but I'm just telling you the message that I got from the different news conferences he did, and the different things he said over the last, 1 year, more than a year actually. Why does he want to stop the Ukraine-Russia war? Because lives are being lost every day. President Trump wants to save lives. He wants to save Russian lives, Ukrainian lives, human lives. I mean, Russia, Ukraine, that battlefield is far, far away from the US. Venezuela is real close to us geographically, but Russia, Ukraine, that battlefield, that region is far, far away. So why does President Trump still care? Because he cares about human lives. The longer that war goes on, the more lives are being lost. So when you stop that war, think about it. When you stop the war, you're saving lives. So in this case also, President Trump, he does want to help Venezuela. He cares about the people of Venezuela. Okay? And under the Maduro regime, the people have suffered tremendously. You know, if you talk to people, and I've said this before, not in this live stream, but I think yesterday or the day before. If you talk to people who perhaps live in the US, but they are originally from Venezuela, you're going to get the real picture from them. They will tell you how much they hate Nicolas Maduro because of his brutality, because of how he has pretty much destroyed Venezuela and the economy. Inflation, sky-high inflation. The economy is a wreck. It's because of communism, socialism. It's because of Maduro. It's because of corruption. It's because of the brutal regime. And so when the United States removes a brutal dictator, the people of that country are happy. Venezuelans are celebrating. And they are thanking President Trump for what he did. So, as I was saying, you talk to, wherever you live, if you know someone in your city, in your state, who has family in Venezuela, who's originally from Venezuela, maybe now lives in the US, but still has family there, friends there. If you talk to those people, they will tell you how happy they are that the United States took action to remove Maduro. They will tell you how happy they are, how relieved they are. You know, many people who are originally from Venezuela but now live in the US, they live here, they work here. They will tell you how afraid they have been to go back to Venezuela, even for a short visit. Even for a short visit. You know, someone wrote to me, she's originally from Venezuela, lives in the US. After Maduro was captured, she wrote to me and said that her grandmother's grave is in Venezuela, and she has, you know, when she heard the news that Maduro has been captured, she had tears in her eyes, thinking that now it may be possible for her to travel to Venezuela and visit her grandmother's grave, something that she wasn't able to do because Maduro was in power, something that she wasn't able to do because of the brutal dictator Maduro. So just imagine, and there are so many stories like this, so many stories. I just told you one story, a true fact. Someone sent me a message and shared this with me. A human being, a person who wants to visit her grandmother's grave and was not able to do that because of the brutal dictator Maduro. So think about how much Maduro has taken away from people. Think about all the human emotions. Think about all the tears. Maduro has not only taken money and wealth from people, he took away money and wealth from people, but he also took away time, valuable, precious time, years of people's lives. Maduro took away from Venezuelans. And so you talk to people who live in Venezuela, you talk to people who are originally from Venezuela, but they live somewhere else in the world, and you will get the true picture. They will tell you they are happy, they are relieved, they thank President Trump for his action to capture Maduro. Okay? And then you talk to the people on the left, you talk to the Democrats who perhaps like they're out there screaming and chanting and shouting, and many of them, they know very little to nothing about Venezuela. You ask them, hey, what's the population of Venezuela? You go out and you see the protesters out there, anti-Trump protesters, unhappy because Trump took action, captured Maduro. You just go and ask them, hey, do you know, like you're out here protesting? Do you know what's the population of Venezuela? Do you know what's the capital of Venezuela? Do you know anything about Venezuela? And a lot of them might say, oh, no, I don't know. I mean, people know, some of these protesters, they have little to no knowledge about Venezuela or Latin America or even just general international relations. But just because Trump did something, oh, we're going to have to go out there and protest. Just because Trump did it, it must be a bad thing. And that's what they do. I mean, they have like the singular vision. Trump does something, oh, it must be bad, so we're going to go out there and chant. That's all they do. That's all they do. These protesters, these anti-Trump, far-left, crazy protesters. Okay? You want to get the real picture? You talk to the people from Venezuela, people who have family in Venezuela. They are relieved. They are thanking President Trump. So, my friends, let's see what happens going forward. Obviously, the Venezuelan economy is in a lot of trouble and have been for years now. But finally, there may be an opportunity for the Venezuelan economy to see a renewal, like a rebirth almost, I would say. It's almost like a rebirth of a country. There's great hope for Venezuela, and President Trump will play the most important role in helping Venezuela and the Venezuelan people succeed. Okay? And yeah, Venezuela has a lot of oil, but did you know that the oil infrastructure, the industry, the infrastructure to actually extract the oil, to properly, utilize the resource, all that infrastructure, it's all crumbling, broken. So Venezuelan people may be sitting on natural resources, but because of the Maduro regime, because of their socialist communist structure, they have not been able to, the general people have not been able to benefit from these resources. Maduro benefited, Maduro's allies benefited, they took all the benefits, but the general public did not see any positive outcome, in spite of having such great natural resources. The general people of Venezuela did not benefit. But now there is an opportunity to rebuild everything. And President Trump talked about this. He did a media gaggle on Air Force One. President Trump said that the country is in a mess right now, and something that you have to keep in mind, and you have to, look for the information going forward. If the oil companies invest and rebuild the infrastructure, then Venezuela is going to become a much better place for everyone. So President Trump said that a lot of oil infrastructure is broken now, so a lot of rebuilding has to be done to extract the natural resources. The United States will run everything. President Trump made it very clear. And, Venezuela suffering from inflation, the economy is poor, but with America's help, things can really improve. It might take some time, but you might also see some very, very drastic changes. And by changes, I mean improvements. You might see some drastic improvements. And the people of Venezuela realize that, they realize this, which is why they're celebrating Maduro's arrest. And as I said, people originally from Venezuela who now live in the US, they're celebrating too. There are celebrations going on in America, in the Venezuelan communities. By the way, let's talk about Colombia. Who wants to talk about Colombia, my friends? Who wants to talk about Colombia? Okay, before I proceed, I'm going to talk about Colombia and more. But I just want to remind you all to please subscribe. I would appreciate that very, very much. You can really help this channel. All you have to do is subscribe. We are at 16,340 subscribers right now, and we're trying to get to 20,000. Okay, that's like a small goal that I've set for this channel. I mean, this is a small channel. There are other channels that have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, million subscribers. This is not a big channel, I don't have like a super studio. Okay, I have a very comfortable home. That's where I live stream from, but I'm not using any high-tech equipment. I'm not using like fancy microphone. I'm not using like fancy lighting or camera. I'm using my phone, Android phone, for the live stream. A good phone, the latest model, very reliable. But I don't have like a movie camera studio set up, multiple angles, because I want to keep this channel very simple. That's my goal. Very simple. I don't use a teleprompter, okay? I say what comes from my heart. Obviously, I write down facts and figures so that I can share with you accurate information. But other than that, this is pretty organic, okay? Because I focus on the connection. I focus on the dialogue that we have. So it's very low key, okay? Not a very high maintenance studio setup. I keep things simple. Not a huge channel, but we have seen some great growth. I don't use any paid promotions or anything to try to grow the size of my audience. It's like I just welcome people. It's gonna have to be word of mouth. Like if you like our discussion, go tell a friend, go tell a family member to tune in, and that's how we grow. So your subscription, which does not cost you any money. By subscription, don't think money. It's just you click the subscribe button. That's it. Okay, subscribe and help us get to 20,000. I would appreciate that very, very much. Okay, so now, who wants to talk about Colombia? Anyone? Colombia? Who wants to talk about Colombia? Go ahead, tell me, my friends. Oh, Evelyn's here. Hello, Evelyn. Evelyn from Nevada. Good to see you, Evelyn. Who else do we have? Who else do we have? We have Kay Cooper. We have Frank. We have others. Um, so many other new names. So many new names. Unbelievable. Lots and lots of new names. So it's great. Did I see Claudia here? Did I see? Hold on. Claudia Greenwood is here. Claudia, great to see you. Edwin is over here. Edwin is over here. Who else? Lawrence is here. Hello, Lawrence. Okay, excellent. Hey, listen, let's continue. Pay attention to Colombia. Keep your eyes and ears open, my friends. That's all I can say. Keep your eyes and ears open, because President Trump, by the way, who's President Trump? He's our 45th president and our 47th president. President twice, actually, more than that, I think, because 2020 election, if you ask me 2020 election, I would say Trump's my president. So I would say 2016, Trump's my president. 2020, Trump's my president. 2024, Trump's my president. Just so you know, that's my viewpoint. So President Trump might take action regarding Colombia. I cannot say that for a fact. I don't think anyone can say that for a fact. But might. It might happen. President Trump made it clear that he is not happy with the Colombian leader. Who's the Colombian leader? Can you give me the name? We have talked about that guy, the Colombian leader, here on this channel. But I just want to see if you remember the name. Do not look it up on the internet. Who is the Colombian leader? What is the name? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, my friends. I'm going to give you, what, 30 seconds maybe? Evelyn got it. Gustavo Petro. All right? Gustavo Petro. President Trump called him sick. Talking about Gustavo Petro, President Trump said that he's sick. I mean, President Trump is not happy at all with Gustavo Petro and what this Gustavo guy, Colombian leader, what he has been doing. And a reporter asked President Trump if there'll be a military operation in Colombia. And do you know what President Trump said? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? A reporter asked President Trump specifically if there's going to be military operation in Colombia, meaning U.S. military operation in Colombia. Do you know what President Trump said? He said, sounds good. Sounds good to me. He said, sounds good to me. It sounds good. So, I mean, Gustavo Petro should be getting a very, very clear message today. Gustavo Petro should not have any doubt. Gustavo Petro should know very well by now that President Trump is going to take whatever action is necessary to solve any kind of problems to ensure that we are prioritizing, we the Americans are prioritizing our national security. And so if that means some kind of military operation in Colombia, President Trump is very open to that idea. Now, he hasn't said that he's definitely going to do it, but he said, sounds good to me. So this should be a loud and clear message to Gustavo Petro. I mean, there's already an example of strong military action in Venezuela. So is Colombia going to be next? I mean, it's not a light decision. It's not something that that is hastily done. It is not something that is casually undertaken. I mean, military action is it's a big deal. You know, to put boots on the ground, even if it's for a short period of time, to deploy the resources, to have the jets and the drones and the ships and whatever else is needed to utilize all that personnel, equipment. It's not an easy decision. But President Trump made sure that he sent a strong message that he is going to do whatever is necessary. So Colombia, you know, talking about Colombia, under current leadership in Colombia, the country is engaged heavily in trading illegal substances, which is harming the US. So if this continues, then President Trump will be compelled to take action. Okay? Colombia. So, by the way, there's something I'm going to point out. There's something I'm going to point out which perhaps some of you know already. Perhaps a lot of you haven't seen this news, or maybe you've seen it but you've missed it. It's quite strange. Get ready for this, okay? Get ready for this. If you don't know this, you're going to be shocked. Maduro's bodyguards were Cubans, not Venezuelans. Maduro's bodyguards were Cubans. Did you know that? Did you know that? I mean, I heard that and I was like, whoa, that's kind of strange, right? I mean, I don't know what other expression to use, but it's quite strange. Maduro's bodyguards were Cubans. And so anyway, I mean, it's strange. And what it shows clearly is a close tie between Maduro, the Maduro regime, and Cuba. Obviously, that connection is now broken because Maduro is no longer in Venezuela. He is in detention, in federal custody in the United States, all right? So that Maduro-Cuba connection is broken. I think, my friends, I think that President Donald J. Trump is looking at this entire region as like a neighborhood. It's like a neighborhood, all right? I mean, think about it. If you live, let's say you got a house on a certain street, right? Do you care only about that street? Do you care only about that lane? You care about the nearby streets. You care about the next block of houses. You care about the entire neighborhood, right? Or do you just care about your house? Like all you care about is your house. Whatever happens in the house on the other side or down the road, oh whatever, I don't care. I just care about. No, you care about the neighborhood. Okay, you want that street to be a safe place. You want the next street, the other lane, that boulevard. You want the whole area, the neighborhood, the surrounding area to be safe, and not just your house. And so look at this region as like a neighborhood on a much larger scale. Cuba is not that far away. Colombia is not that far away. Venezuela is not that far away. You got North America, you got South America. It's just like these two continents combined. It's just one big neighborhood. And we're in the same hemisphere with Venezuela, the Western Hemisphere. And so I think President Trump has taken that approach. He's looking at this whole region as a neighborhood. And there are certain countries, very bad leaders. Colombia, very bad leadership. Cuba, very bad leadership. Hostile leaders. Venezuela, there was a hostile leader, and now he's in federal custody in New York. So I think after Venezuela, President Trump is going to have some sort of a plan for dealing with Colombia and Cuba. Would that mean military intervention, military action? I don't know. That could be diplomacy. I mean, it doesn't have to get to the military phase. I mean, do you think that President Trump, the military action that he authorized in Venezuela, was that a light decision? No. But Maduro would not cooperate. Maduro would not adopt the right course of action, and that's why the military action was necessary. But now that this is done, Colombia has an opportunity. Colombia, Cuba, those two countries, those regimes have the opportunity to do the right thing, maybe come to the table, have a conversation, use the diplomatic route. But I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. While speaking to the media, President Trump said that Cuba is ready to fall. Wow. Cuba is ready to fall. That is what President Trump said. What does that mean? I don't know, but listen. In my undergrad at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, okay, that's where I went to school. University of Wisconsin-Madison. As I was pursuing my bachelor's degree in political science, I took a lot of obviously political science courses because that's my major. But when you look at political science, there are a couple different branches. Okay, so there's American politics. You can take courses in American politics. You can take courses in international relations. You can take political theory. Okay, political theory is very interesting. I mean, you're probably going to read, ancient what ancient philosophers said, what modern philosophers are saying. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, you could read Plato, you could read Socrates, you could read Aristotle, political theory. I mean, really, I mean, you can go as far back in history as you want to understand political theory. Anyway, so you got American politics, international relations, political theory, and then comparative politics. So I took a bunch of courses from the comparative politics route. I mean, I've covered many different. Uh, I took all kinds of courses, but international relations, political theory, I enjoyed really. American politics, obviously. That's what I spend my time on most of the time. I mean, that's my focus, American politics. But I took many comparative politics courses. I studied Russian politics, European politics, EU. I studied Latin American politics, African politics. Very interesting. And there's one more thing that I have found very helpful. Whenever you are studying the politics of a particular part of the world, you also have to study the literature. So let's say you are taking courses on Russian politics. In order to understand Russian politics, you have to study Russian literature. Yes, you have to know the history of the region, but you also have to learn about the cultural side, the literature side of Russia. Okay, what did the different authors write throughout different generations in that part of the world? When there was Soviet Union, what did the writers write? When the Soviet Union, came to an end, Russia became Russia. What are the writers writing? There's a lot of symbolism too, because there was heavy censorship. Obviously, you're talking about Lenin and Stalin and all that. I mean, those authoritarian figures. And so writers did not have the freedom to write as they wanted. So a lot of writings, novels, from that part of the world, from the Soviet era, Russia, there's a lot of symbolism. What the writers could not say openly, they put their viewpoints through different symbols. So there's a lot of hidden meaning. So as you're reading a Russian novel, you have to look at the literal meaning, but you also have to try to figure out the meaning behind some of the symbols that appear. So, there might be a cat. Let's say in a story there's a cat. The cat may not be just the physical cat. The cat may represent a political figure. Okay? So as you read more about the cat, for example, you also have to follow and kind of align, like, okay, when this writer wrote this story, what was going on in Soviet Union? Who was in power? Who are the allies of whoever was in charge? And that will help you understand that maybe this cat represents an ideology or a political figure who was in power at the time. So anyway, I don't want to start like an academic course here, but what I want to say is, if you want to learn more about Latin American politics, Russian politics, British politics, American politics, you have to study the literature also. So literature and political science goes together. And so I remember when I was taking, studying Russian politics, I also took uh, Russian literature. Obviously, it was in translation, so I read those books as they were translated in English. Same for Africa. When I took a course on African politics, I was also studying African literature and learning more about the cultures, learning more about the belief system, to be able to understand how culture influenced politics and how political events impacted the people of that region who had certain traditions or cultural norms. So, my friends, let's come back to the main discussion. When we are looking at Colombia and Venezuela, as Americans, when we look at Colombia, Venezuela, Cuba, you're going to have to look at that whole region, North America and South America, and think about this as a neighborhood. We want good neighbors. You care about who lives next door. You care about the person who lives in the house on the other side of the street. You want a peaceful neighborhood. You want everyone to take care of their front yard. You want everyone to, clean the snow from the sidewalk in front of their house. Because everyone plays a role in keeping the neighborhood in order. You can cut your grass on time, you can clean the snow, maybe you keep your house looking great, but the house next door looks terrible. The grasses are out of control. Whoever lives next door doesn't clean the snow. The fences are broken. That's going to make the neighborhood look bad. So what President Trump is trying to do is take a neighborhood approach. Like, we're going to address Venezuela. And he's doing that. President Trump is going to help Venezuela prosper. And if Colombia, the regime over there in Colombia, if the Colombian leaders are being notorious and they're trying to harm the US by trafficking illegal substances, drugs, then Colombia, that problem also has to be addressed the same way, or maybe in a different way, that Trump addressed and is addressing the Venezuela issue. I mean, think about it. The ideal situation, Venezuela, a thriving economy. Colombia, a successful economy with good leadership. Cuba becomes a democratic society where people have freedom. I mean, isn't that going to be amazing for the whole Western Hemisphere? It's going to be amazing for the whole world, actually. If people have freedom, if people can exercise their freedom, if people can have free speech, if people can vote for their favorite political candidates in free and fair elections, in Venezuela, in Colombia, and Cuba, isn't that going to be awesome? Less chaos, more order. And then the United States can get along very well with Venezuela, can get along with Cuba and Colombia and other countries. We can all be happy together in the Western Hemisphere as good neighbors. So My friends, I don't know, what do you think about what I just shared with you? Let me know. Let me know in the live chat, my friends. Please let me know in the live chat. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you. I'm always. Evelyn says, I agree. Thank you, Evelyn. The others, please go ahead, share your thoughts with me in the live chat. The live chat is open. All you have to do is write your comments in the live chat. The live chat is open. It is open. Go ahead, share your thoughts. I'm going to be staring at the screen. I'm looking for your comments right now. Right now. You don't have to agree with me. If you have other ideas, if you have a different interpretation, if you have different analysis, share that. I'm looking at the live chat. It's open. Go ahead, write it. Whatever your thoughts are. Go ahead, my friends. Go ahead. One hour, 21 minutes into the live stream. There's a lot more that we have to discuss. Some today, some in a future live stream. By the way, let me know which state you're from or which country. Let me know which state you're from. If you're from outside the US, let me know which country you're from. Go ahead, my friends. Kay Cooper, always great to see you. Edwin is from Florida. Hi, Edwin. $116 likes on this video. Hey, that's pretty awesome. $116 likes. Thank you. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate. By the way, those who are new here, you're trying to figure out where I live. I'm in Wisconsin, okay? Salerno, good to see you. Kay Cooper says, I'm feeling proud of great leadership from our president. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Absolutely. We support President Trump. So do you have any questions for me? Go ahead. Ask me questions. So anyway, so coming back to Venezuela, we have to wait and see what kind of actions the Venezuelan leader who is in charge right now, Delcy Rodriguez, what kind of actions she performs. Is she going to cooperate with the US? I hope she will. If the Venezuelan government now cooperates with the US, then I think that Venezuela will have a very bright future ahead. And also keep in mind that the United States obviously has total control right now. And I believe that the people of Venezuela, the innocent people, the general public of Venezuela can greatly benefit because of US involvement. So yes, those are my thoughts that I wanted to share, but I'm here if you have any questions. I mean, after I'm done sharing my thoughts, I don't leave right away because I want to have a conversation. So ask me questions. If you want to learn more about me, ask me whatever you want, and I'll share with you my thoughts. Anyone here who has not yet subscribed? Anyone who has not yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Feel free to subscribe, my friends. There's a viewer thanking me. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you all. I gotta thank you for your support, everyone who's watching. Who's here for the first time? Anyone here for the first time? Ace is here for the first time. Welcome, Ace. Edwin says second time. All right, Edwin. Thanks for coming back. I'm here to answer questions, or if you have thoughts, comments, feel free to let me know. Evelyn's asking, is it snowing? Well, not as of right now, but we're supposed to get some freezing weather. Maybe, I don't know, freezing drizzle or something in the morning, I think. I saw some kind of weather alert that the morning commute might be difficult. You know, people who are driving might be slippery out there. So, not snowing right now. There's some snow on the ground, on the sidewalk. Not sidewalk, but, you know, in some areas. Certain streets, yeah. I mean, the sidewalks in my neighborhood are actually pretty well taken care of. There's salt and stuff. So the snow melts. Evelyn writes Trump. I love it. A viewer is writing, God bless President Trump. Yep, absolutely. God bless President Trump. A viewer writes, keep preaching the good word, Tassif. Yeah, that's my goal. Always to share the facts here. Um, okay. Well, let me wrap up today's live stream then. I see, unless you have questions for me, I'm going to wrap it up. Otherwise, I mean, I don't mind staying here. I love it. I mean, I've done live streams that are more than double the length of this live stream. I mean, this is 1 hour, 30 minutes so far. I've done live streams that are more than 3 hours. So, yeah, some of you know, right? Evelyn K. Cooper, you've seen me do live streams 3+ hours. Do you remember? I've done it multiple times, not just once. Evelyn remembers that. Evelyn says yes. Simon's here. Hello, Simon. I see a comment. Tossif, keep up your streaming. Thank you. Well, thank you for your support. Evelyn writes MAGA. Okay. So anyone who has not yet subscribed, just a final reminder for today, please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I'm going to wrap up this live stream, but I will continue to do more and more live streams. So stay here with me, support this channel. I appreciate you all very, very much. Okay. So there's going to be a lot more to talk about Venezuela and other topics. So stay with me, stay connected. Social and political issues, domestic and international, we will discuss. I'm not ignoring anyone. I see a viewer says I just get ignored. I'm not ignoring anyone. I am not ignoring anyone. If I can't read all the comments, please forgive me, okay? But no one's being ignored here. Okay, my friends, thank you so very much. May God bless you all. May God bless President Donald J. Trump. May God bless the Trump administration. May God bless the Republicans in Washington. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless our U.S. allies. And may God bless freedom-loving people all over the world. Thank you so very much. I'm going to be back again very soon with more videos and more live stream. Thanks for your support. I'll see you soon.